Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thanks again for clicking on a thumbnail of me for your entertainment. I really appreciate it. For today's video, we're going to be talking about A Quiet Place Day 1, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn. And the quietest cat to ever walk the face of the earth. I have lived with cats. No cat is that quiet. One moment they are calm and collected, and the next moment I will destroy everything and everyone. That's the thing with cats, man. You gotta be on your toes, man. For the ones that are new here, I'll start by going over the franchise, then give a brief synopsis, followed by going over what I did like, start off on a good note for this video, then go over what I didn't like so much, and lastly give my final thoughts on everything. For any of that, FYI, this is a spoiler review. Just in case you missed it in the title, I'm going to be going over some things that some people might consider spoilers. So you've been warned. Let's get into it. Quiet Place Day 1 is a spin-off of the Quiet Place franchise. First coming out in 2018 and part 2 coming out in 2020. The first two in the franchise being directed by John Krasinski and this installment being directed by Michael Sarnowski. Or Ski, who directed that Nicolas Cage movie called Pig that ended up getting a lot of good reviews. I never saw it, but I am intrigued to check it out. I remember vividly going to watch the first movie in this franchise. A movie that I actually had no intention of watching, wasn't even on my radar, not even a little bit. But got enticed after the buzz for the movie was overwhelmingly positive. And that buzz was rightly deserved. That first movie was one of the most intense and memorable cinema experience I had in a very long time. And when I say experiences, I mean it. That whole cinema was dead silent throughout all the quiet scenes. Even when people had to open their chips and pick up their popcorn, everything was done so slowly. Like seriously. I was chewing gum, and even though I was chewing gum with my mouth closed because I'm civilized, I felt as though the whole cinema could hear me chew, like. Even though I know they couldn't. It was amazing to behold. Because we all know how bad some people's cinema etiquette can be. Man, I can make a separate video. Some of the worst experiences I've had in the cinema. It's a cinema, people, not a fucking lounge. Relax. Think positive thoughts. Smile. Second one was a direct continuation of the first with the addition of Cillian Murphy to the cast. The first two were massive hits at the box office, making the first one made 300 million on a budget of 17 million. The second one, upwards of 200 million on a budget of 50 to 60. That decline having more to do with the time that it was released, COVID times, rather than the quality of the movie. It might have made just as much, if not more, honestly, but we'll never know. So in this spin-off, the story revolves around Lupita's character named Sam, who's living out her final days in a hospice after being diagnosed with cancer. And on a trip to a city to go and watch a puppet show. Nothing against puppeteers, but wouldn't it be more enjoyable taking to the cinema, Hamilton, stand-up, something more upbeat? Jeff Dunham does use puppets. So what do I know? Anyways, while on this trip, the aliens crash land and start causing all kinds of havoc. And in the midst of all this chaos, Lupita is on a mission to go and get a slice of pizza. Because fuck healthy food when you're dying. Eat what you want, babe. Seed oils and gluten are the least of your issues. And on the way, Eddie Munson from Stranger Things decides to do a strange thing and turn Lupita's world upside down.
I understood that reference.
And always tagging along is Sam's mute cat, Frodo. They never say he's mute, but seriously, the silence of this cat is more out of this world than the damn aliens are.
It doesn't make any sense.
So with that basic synopsis out of the way, what do I like about the movie? Movies in this franchise always know how to capture that sense of dread and engulfing you in the intensity of what it would feel like to be in such a predicament. And even if you got your hands on a gun, it wouldn't make any difference at all. Only mic feedback, which they're not aware of yet, and drowning is fatal to them. So you'll have to surprise them next to a body of water and go boo, just to kill these intergalactic nuisance. And these movies always thrust you into it head on. Give you a glimpse of what it would be in such a dreadful environment. And they do it very well. I don't mean to digress. Actually, I'm not digressing. This is serious. Imagine wanting to fart in this universe. The level of trust you would need to have in yourself. Because we've all faced those moments, brothers and sisters, that life or death situation, where you have to force it and pray to God it's just gas and nothing else. In this world, it's either silent but deadly or a shart. Yeah, you're wishing for a shart in this horror show. Because if you're fucked. You either adapt quickly, because the only other option is death. As well as the lengths you have to go to survive. When Djimon Hounsou from the second movie has to shut that panicky civilian down after he witnesses the bridges being blown up for containment, this mofo doesn't want to.
Okay, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Bro, you better. Mind dying because of your dumbass? When all the chips are down, man becomes the most dangerous animal of all. When we have all the chips, we're destructive as hell. Just imagine when all the chips are down. You gotta make sure that humans have their chips as long as possible. Otherwise, chaos, baby. The acting from the two main leads is very good and convincing. Lupita's character's pessimistic view on life is portrayed very well. The levels of positivity you have to dig out of yourself at a time like this. Dying of an illness, world's coming to an end, and you can't voice your anger towards the situation. And Eddie Munson won't leave you alone. That is a skill in itself. The scene where both of them can scream and let it out, you feel that moment. It's visceral. How many of us living in this modern day world just want to belt one out in the car or into a pillow to relax ourselves from the trials and tribulations from this manic spinning globe we call Earth? It does help, if only for a fleeting moment. Wardrobe change. It was getting a little bit chilly in here. Joseph Quinn also does a very decent job, although being a tad bit of an annoying character. He makes more noise than the cat does. Dude, noise gets us killed.
Get your shit together!
Or be somebody else's tail. The acting from the cat has to be mentioned. I knew the cat was there to add tension to a scene or two, obviously, but the fact that they were not killed 5 minutes into it because of the feline, bravo, bravo. The whole plot about her wanting to get a slice of pizza because it was what she used to do with her father in her childhood, it's very sweet. It didn't bother me. However, I will come back to that later. And this segues well into the next part of the video to talk about what I didn't like. The pace of this movie leaves something to be desired. When I heard this movie was coming out and it was going to be day one, I had a very different feeling of how things were going to play out. I made the mistake of hyping myself out for it, which nowadays is a very bad idea. That's the beauty of the first movie. Hype was near zero. Going in with no expectations, just a couple of good reviews, that really helped. I don't watch trailers even, so you'll never see me talking about trailers. Best thing I ever started doing. Would recommend that to anyone. Any trailers are like 4 and 5 minutes long these days. Like, what? If you're going to condense all the plot points before I watch the movie, you suck out all the tension. It's gone. Where is it? I can't find it because you took it away. But anyways, back to the point. Even though this movie does have intense scenes, there were a lot more characters sit around and do various activity scenes that took away the excitement, energy, and flow of the movie. Almost like driving and then suddenly a speed bump just slows everything to a halt. Really messed with the tempo, in my opinion. This movie is 99 minutes long. You gotta keep the pace going. We've had 2 movies in this world already. You gotta be a bit more inventive, a bit more creative. Gotta keep our hearts pumping. And that's where I feel this movie drops the ball. And some people might mistake this for a prequel to the franchise, but this movie is definitely more of a spin-off. And even more than that, this feels more like A Quiet Place Day 1 New York. In the beginning of A Quiet Place Part 2 felt like Quiet Place Day 1 Wisconsin, or wherever they were in the beginning of Part 2. Where were they in the beginning of Part 2? Oh! They were in upstate New York. I did not know that. Now I know. This movie reminded me of CSI. You had CSI New York, CSI Miami, CSI Las Vegas, CSI Mississippi, CSI Amish country. They made so many of those I just couldn't keep up. My parents did though. Man, parents love those shows, don't they? This movie felt like A Quiet Place Day 1 New York. And these are the 2 characters that we have to follow along. And although they are played very well, not taking anything away from the actors, nothing away from the actors, but they can be a tad bit boring. Now, I understand the significance of Lupita's character wanting to get a slice of pizza from a place she used to go to with her father. Like I mentioned before, I get that. I'm not callous. I have a beating heart. I feel. And I do think that aspect of the movie is very sweet. But on the flip side, the audience part of me is going, come on, let's go. We don't have all day here. And when Eddie Munson starts his whole magic trick skit, again, I understand that he's trying to cheer her up in this god-awful monster-filled world. Very sweet and all. I will say, the shadow side of me was hoping that the cat would drop something in the background so the creatures could go,
Surprise, motherfucker!
time for some blood and guts. Maybe my heart is more black than pink. The older I get, I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more. So in closing, I would say, for being the 3rd movie in the franchise, they did not build upon the first 2 movies. They didn't add anything new and enticing. I've already watched the first movie 3 times now, and still really get engrossed in it. And thinking about the second, I do get an inkling to watch it again. The beginning of the second shows you a more nail-biting version of Day 1 than this movie does. That's saying something. I don't ever see myself watching this installment ever again, really. And sometimes that's a good litmus test for movies. Do I see myself rewatching it in the future? Honestly, no. That's why I'd give it a 5 out of 10 at best. It's average. I will say it does end on a rather noble note. The lead character, Sam, aware of her illness, knows even if she gets out of this horrible debacle alive, living with what she has would be a very agonizing life, especially given the circumstances and not having the medication that she needs, which apparently was fentanyl? The fact that she sacrifices herself for Eddie Munson, his character's name is Eric, by the way, and her cat, who will be nominated for an award come Oscar season. That sacrifice, all in all, at the end was very moving. Let me save 2 lives with my life, and let my death give 2 souls a chance to live on. I like that. Hey, maybe my heart is just the right color. And that's all I have to say for this movie. Thank you once again for tuning in. Like, share, comment, subscribe. All help is appreciated. As always, peace, love, is at our heart, and I'll see you when I see you.